Hi there, kids. This is Larry Doherty, rookie Iditarod musher for 2016. I just want to give a big shout out to the 9th grade biology class at WestLake Academy and send you guys my big congratulations for working on this multi-touch book project. It sounds really awesome. So thanks for reaching out to me to answer some questions. I hope I can be helpful, and feel free to reach out to me again if there's any other questions that you have. So first, to Connor, who asked, what is a good attitude in a husky? Well, I got to be honest with you, Connor, I think just about all of these dogs are just naturally born with a good attitude. They are just happy, love people, friendly, and really, most importantly for a musher, they love to run just naturally. They see a harness and they just start jumping up and down and freaking out and just love nothing more than to get out on a nice run. But I think specifically out on the trail, things that we look for that I guess fall into the attitude category are a dog that likes to eat. Surprisingly, after you go out on a 40 or a 50-mile run, you pull into a checkpoint. Some dogs may not want to eat right away, and others do, and it's very, very helpful if they are able to just right away get to the business of eating and then get to the business of laying down on their straw and sleeping. And if they can do kind of those two things, then really they can perform much better for a long time out on the trail. Rena asked, what is the protocol at each checkpoint for a dog? Excellent question. So Rena, I think that the primary things that you have in mind are getting your dogs comfortable, getting them calories, getting them rested, and taking care of any injuries that you might have seen out on the trail. Most mushers will not evaluate so much injuries for their dogs when they get to a checkpoint, because it's pretty normal, after you've been on a 40 or 50-mile run, that you're going to have some soreness. That may not really be an injury, but just soreness. So it's hard to really evaluate a dog right after they've been on a run. So it's really important to be paying close attention to your dogs out on the trail, particularly the last couple miles as you're kind of pulling into a trail. If you notice a limp or some change in the dog's gait as you're pulling into a checkpoint, that's the most helpful time to really evaluate your dog. But as you pull into a checkpoint, kind of some of the first things that you do, number one, you give them lots of love and attention and gratitude for just having pulled you, across, some pretty isolated terrain. Thereafter, usually I like to unhook the tug line from the harness. That's the back part of the harness that hooks to the gang line. When you hook the dog up to the tug line, that's really their signal that they're on the clock. They're supposed to be pulling at that point in time. So I like to make it really clear to the dogs. Give them a pat on the head, pull off their tug line, and let them know now it's time to rest, time to eat. So pull off the tug line, take their booties off. Those booties are going to be kind of icy and uncomfortable at that point in time. So it's nice to get those off as quick as you can. Then we want to lay down straw. That's one of the, almost immediately, lay down straw and get those dogs down and resting. Then I'll start preparing their food, get each of the dogs fed, and then lastly go through the team and take care of any vet care issues. So we pay very close attention to every single foot. Oftentimes you're putting foot ointments, moisturizers, or any kind of medicated creams, on the feet. You're massaging the dogs if they have any sore muscles. Some of the dogs might need a heat wrap around a swollen or a sore wrist or a shoulder. And then if there are any dogs that need to be dropped from the team at a checkpoint, that's a time to really communicate closely with the veterinarians. And I'm always just very, very honest with the veterinarians and say, hey, here's what I'm seeing out on the trail. This dog had diarrhea, and here's what I did about it. And this dog, has a sore shoulder. And sometimes they can be really helpful in determining whether a dog can and should go forward, or whether they should stay behind at that checkpoint. So that's kind of the protocol. Jillian asked, what is the condition of a dog to continue on the race? I guess I kind of answered that in Rena's question, but some of the more common injuries that might preclude a dog from going forward. One big one is a shoulder. Oftentimes a swollen wrist. You can have a wrist that's actually really quite swollen and sore, and that dog might look very uncomfortable when you pull into a checkpoint, but it's really surprising. I mean, after just a few hours of a heat wrap on, that swelling will go down, and if you treat that dog appropriately, usually that dog can continue on your team, all the way to Nome. But if you have a shoulder, that's a different story. You might nurse that dog along for another checkpoint or two, but it's pretty unlikely that they're going to be making it 1,000 miles. If a dog is just, lethargic, not feeling it, not really pulling, maybe they're dehydrated, maybe, they don't have enough calories, or maybe there's something else going on. Maybe they have a pneumonia or an issue with their heart or something more serious. So that's where we get the veterinarians involved, and they help us make that decision about, the health of the dog. But sometimes these are not cut and dry decisions. These, you kind of have to follow your gut and know your dogs, know what they look like when they're normal and happy and healthy versus when they're not. So Samuel asked, what are some of the signs of the heart not working properly? Wow, Samuel, that's a great question. I got to be honest with you. For most mushers, we rely heavily on the veterinarians to examine the heart. Every single dog, before they start the race, undergoes what's called an EKG, or an electrocardiogram. That's a pretty intense evaluation of the heart to make sure that their heart is healthy enough to go on the trail. But any type of abnormalities on the trail, may not be immediately obvious to a musher that is a heart problem. We might see things that, the dog just looks really tired, or the dog is not pulling, or the dog just, there's something off with the dog. And that's where a veterinarian might get their stethoscope out and listen to the dog's heart. And if they noticed an arrhythmia or a very rapid heart rate or a very slow heart rate, those clearly would probably be some reasons to leave that dog at that checkpoint and just get him home and get him the proper vet care that they need. To Omar, I didn't really understand your question. I think what you said is, are there different weights based on the role of a dog? So I think what you're asking is, do certain size dogs perform better, say, as a leader or in wheel, or as a team dog, as a swing dog? I think that's your question. And I got to say, no, not really. I've seen very large dogs as leaders, very small dogs as leaders, same thing in every other position in the team. So it's not really usually a size-based thing. Sometimes those big, strong dogs are a big asset, and they're strong and they pull hard, and they're some of your best dogs. But sometimes they're a liability. Some of those dogs pull so hard that maybe they only pull for a few hundred miles, and then they've worked so hard that they're tired, and you have to drop them early on in the race. Or sometimes those big, strong, really big dogs don't have a trotting gait. Sometimes they have more of a loping gait, or one that might be more prone to wearing them out or causing injuries, so they may not make it for 1,000 miles. So that really spans the whole spectrum. There's not really a firm rule one way or the other. And lastly, to Daniel, who asked, could I send some pictures of my sled dogs? I'd be happy to, Daniel. I will send you guys some pictures and some video, and absolutely you can include that in your book. So again, congratulations on your book project. I look forward to seeing it. I hope you'll share it with me, and feel free to reach out to me with any other questions, okay? Mush on, guys. Take care.